make it there and can make it back.
Salutations and shit, folks. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite travel podcast, Travel and Shit, where I, your host, D. Carey, have an experiential conversation about the nuanced ways that travel intersects with regular life. One of my favorite things to do when I have a guest is to remind you all that the podcast is also available on the YouTubes so that you can see this beautiful face that I have here with me. Wonderful listeners, please give a welcome to Khadijah K. Khadijah, please introduce yourself and thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. Hi, listeners. My name is Khadijah. Also go by Kay. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a popcorn company called Kay's Kettle Corn, where we sell gourmet popcorn company to like major events. We've done Super Bowl. I've been in grocery stores.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I love popcorn. I've been doing it for 10 years now, right? So
wow.
Yeah. But as my corporate background, I've been a senior level recruiter. I went to an HBCU. I'm a huge advocate for HBCU. Shout out to Grambling State University. I live in Houston. I'm from Los Angeles. I love to travel. One of my major things that I founded was Ankara Beauty, which is I'm here to talk about because that's what brings me to travel. Ankara Beauty, which is a social enterprise that sources natural beauty products from women-owned cooperatives and solo entrepreneurs around African countries. But yeah, I just love talking, listening to podcasts and learning and travel and all things HBCU. And I'm a Delta. Shout out to the D9s out there.
Special shout out to my baby Nikki, who was a recent guest, who is also a Delta.
Okay.
So Sister Greeks link up. Appreciate all of us in the Divine Nine.
Yeah.
So before we dive into Ankara Beauty, how did you begin travel? Like, were you always a traveler? Did you travel when you were young, or did you have a later in life introduction to travel?
Well, my dad worked for Eastern Airlines, if we can go back that far. He was a sky cap. Remember when we used to have sky caps out on the curb that would help you with your bags and things like that?
Yes.
Yeah, they just disappeared. I think some airports might still have them. But yeah, my dad worked for
Good point.
Mm-hmm. My dad
I ain't seen no. Yeah.
So ever since I was little, living in LA, we were close to Vegas and Mexico. So we would do like road trips all the time. And, with my dad working for the airline, we would be able to fly for free. And you used to have to get dressed to fly. We had our little ruffle socks on, standing in standby. And my family lived in Texas, so we would fly to Texas. So we did a lot of local travel. When I was younger, I think aside from Mexico, my first international trip was, I was 16. I went to Paris, France with my French class. And my mom is my parents are both world travelers. Like my mom sang all over the world with several different groups, but like one of the biggest ones people might know of is Mac Davis, but she's traveled all over the world, USSO tours. And my dad lived in Senegal before I was born. And so it's always been about travel. So travel was something that I just thought everyone, was just a part of my life. Right. And so after I went to Paris, came back, even traveling locally, I went to school out of state, went to Louisiana. So yeah, I've always been somewhat of a traveler.
All right. So what were your adult travels like, right? So I know sometimes people do travel as a youth, but when you came into paying your own bills and be responsible for paying things on your own, what was that travel experience like for you?
I started off with, I was married for a long time. So we would do like the Bahamas and Puerto Rico and, where else did I go? I've been to and when I was paying for it, it was more of the, more common, I guess you would say, depending on where you're at, closer places. Like before I got a passport or renewed my passport, I went to the Bahamas. Like people were doing destination weddings. So my ex's frat brothers got married in, the Bahamas. So we went there. We went to St. Croix, places that you didn't really need a passport for. So the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, a lot of the Caribbean places. And then Dominican Republic, but like far travel, I think I would have started probably I guess 2018,
Okay.
when I went to Ghana for the first time. Is that the furthest place? Yeah. 2018, I went to Ghana for the first time with a group. It was a group
Okay.
travel. HBCU alumni abroad. We went to Grambling
Oh,
together.
nice.
Yeah, and she just put it out there and was like, "I want to, put a trip together." And Ghana had always been on my list.
Hmm.
Well, a lot of African countries have always been on my list. They
Right.
just seem so far, right? And so it was like a
Mhm.
bucket list, far out dream. And when I saw that she put the group together, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going. Like, why not?" And then that same year, I went to Cuba, and it was like that's when everybody was going to Cuba. Let's go before they shut it down again. Before we can't go. It was that.
Right. Yep.
So
That
that's
sense of
yeah.
urgency.
The sense of urgency. Yeah. So it was. I had a budget in mind. I don't know where I got this arbitrary number. Like, okay, if the trip is not over $3,000, like what
Hmm.
fits in that? I don't even know where. I just thought about that. I don't know where I got that number from. I guess it was comfortable with my budget. I guess. Yeah.
For me, I think that it's funny you should say that because I had all of these honestly limiting beliefs of
Mhm.
what travel was before I actually saw people that looked like me and sounded like me actually out actively doing it.
Mhm.
I personally didn't travel internationally until like 2017.
Mhm.
And in my experience, I too had that arbitrary number in my head, like, oh, I don't got no $4,000. I
Yeah.
can't go nowhere.
Yeah.
Because I always thought that travel was going to be so
Yeah.
expensive. Because whenever I would see whenever I would see travel before social media, right? So everyone's got, not everyone, but we've all heard all of the social media is destroying this, social
Yeah.
media, this, it's all fake. So there have been some really good things to
Yeah.
social media. And I personally can say that it gave me personally the travel bug.
Mhm.
I didn't think that travel was accessible to me outside of, say, what do you call it when you're in college? To study
Study
abroad,
abroad.
right?
Mhm.
But then when I saw all the paperwork and it was just, I just assumed that it would be so far out of my reach because I got to do this first. I got to get this first. I got to figure that. There was so many things that I let get in the way, telling that my own story of what was going to keep me from going, as opposed to just leaning into it.
Right.
And when I saw Black women traveling, but not just like Black women, right? Because, and I'm trying to make sure I word this so it doesn't sound crazy, there's always a preconception of, oh, well, I don't have a job like her,
Right.
or she makes way more than I do,
Mhm.
or it's just like, oh, wait, so like regular Black girls can go, not
Yeah.
just the ones that have rich
Right.
husbands or the ones that work in finance and
Right.
tech. It's just like me, this little backwater job here.
Mhm.
I might have a couple dollars.
Right.
And that was the start for me. So I really, limiting beliefs, man, they
Mhm.
will limit,
Yeah.
but the way that we kind of, I'm curious about the little things that are kind of like the little latch
Mhm.
that comes off before you push the door. Like, what is it every once in a while that will get us to look past what it is we really think about, you know?
Mhm.
And I would assume that for you, it was seeing the other people that you went to school with.
Mhm.
Like, it was a trip that was being put together, and it's just like, all right, well, y'all going, let me see what it's all about.
Yeah.
So I would urge people to lean into those things that you are curious about, because you might be surprised that whatever may have been holding you back from those curiosities
Mhm.
really ain't that big of a deal.
It's really not.
So, what was that first trip like? What was Ghana like for you the first time?
Oh, well, because I had been to Bahamas like a few years before,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, right? It's Black people. It's hot,
Okay.
right? And so I didn't have, and I was feeling guilty a little bit because I didn't have that, oh my God, I'm home feeling that you hear everyone have. And I'm like, no, it's a cool place, but I went to HBCU,
Okay.
like my dad lived in Senegal. I go to New Orleans all the time. Black people, right? But
Hmm.
it was in December. It was a turn up. It was just nonstop fun, and I didn't realize that my subconscious was relaxed
Oh,
until I got back home and was like, oh, I was like the nervousness that I had. I broke a lot of my. I didn't even know I was scared of the dark. I didn't like
really?
just being out. I didn't realize how much afraid of the dark I was there. And my friends now that I have friends there, they're like, Why are you so jumpy?" And I was just like, "We don't just be walking outside. I'm from LA. We don't just
Okay.
be walking outside in the dark." Or like the interactions with the police, and they're standing there with these big long guns. they're there to protect us. Like, it was just like those little things that I had to,
Yeah.
I realized about myself when I came back, but I just knew that I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was going to go back. And I was just like, oh, it's far. But once I was there, it was just like, it didn't seem so far because that was the furthest place that I went. Did I go straight? I think I flew straight there. But then, like, since I've been going, I'll stop in like different African countries.
Okay.
And I'll be like, oh, y'all, I'm going to Ghana. Anybody want to go? And they're like, girl, Africa is not down the street, but it doesn't seem so far anymore. And yeah, so those limiting beliefs that I had, I didn't realize until I got back. So I was so like, oh my God, this is so exciting. It looks like LA, it looks like, and I went to school in the country. So like, it's a lot more similarities than, differences, but it wasn't something that I don't know. I knew that part of Africa existed because my dad always spoke so highly of it, right? And my mom has been to Africa. So I didn't really have any expectations, but I did feel guilty about not having that. Oh my God, I'm home feeling.
Okay. So which trip to Ghana was it that gave you the inspiration to become involved with social travel and impact? What made you want to begin with Ankara Beauty?
Okay, so 2018, we went for the first time. We went the group, and the next year I went, and it was the year of return, and that was 400 years since the first slave ship arrived of enslaved Africans to where is it in Jamestown, Virginia. And so it was a big, celebration. And one of my sorors, she's the director of tourism over there. So she was, talking about, we're everywhere. HBCU.
That's exactly. I was like, we.
Yeah, she was director of Year of Return, that actual program, which is now beyond return. And that's when it was, they were pushing the diaspora to come. And I knew I wanted to come back because, it was a really great trip. And I knew my sister wanted to go. And I actually wanted to go by myself, though. But my friends was like, I want to go with you. So it was like 5 of us went back. And when I got there, in 2018, the shea butter, I was like, oh, as an entrepreneur, how can I import shea butter? That's how I initially wanted to do something, some type of product. And I met a woman who has a shea butter cooperative. Her name is Ajeke, via social media. We were talking about how social media has a lot of good parts to it. And she made a post about her shea butter cooperative building a school for the children whose mothers make shea butter for her. And she was asking, she wasn't asking for anything, actually. She just posted like an update, we're laying the foundation or something like that. And I inboxed her for whatever reason. I was like, well, I'm coming back, can I bring something? And she, she's looking like, who is this random person?
Yeah.
And she was just like, well, they need school shoes. They're at another school. She used the word proper shoes to go with their uniforms. And I was like, okay, and school supplies. And I was just like, okay. So I reached out to my friends and they were like, their kids grew out of, shoes. We buy our kids stuff all the time. And so I just brought it back. And my friends who came with me, we all brought like school supplies in our luggage. And I met with her. It was like midnight. She came to where we were staying. And it was crazy because it's December. Traffic is insane. It was like midnight. We were at an Airbnb. Well, it wasn't an Airbnb. It was just a house that I trusted somebody, and it actually felt, it came to fruition. We trusted them. We exchanged money. It's a lot of money for 10 days, but she came to the house and she picked up the stuff, and she was just telling me more about the project that she was doing in her cooperative. And we were just like, oh, so I don't know what possessed us to like start giving even more money that we brought. She was just like, you guys have already brought all of this stuff. You've done so much. We were like, no, we don't, we'll eat that up, And so we gave it to her, and she was just like almost in tears. And she called the principal of the school. And mind you, this is like midnight there at their time. We're there. And she's just like, we have the money to pay the teachers that have already been working. These teachers were just showing up, not getting paid. And, he's speaking to us, just thanking us. So I was just thinking about the impact that we were making, just the 5 of us right then. And I was just like, we can do more. We can definitely do more. So that's what sparked it. And so I've been going 2018, 2019, 2020 was the life-changing trip. And I had each 2018 I went, didn't feel the home. 2019, it was still just fun. And then 2020 pandemic is when I was just like, oh my God, this is where I need to be. Yeah. But each year I would still, take the shoes and stuff there. But 2020 was the year that I went to the Shea Butter Cooperative, which is a 12-hour drive, but like a 40-minute flight. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Because it's rural. It's not Accra. It's not, pop and turn up, it's totally different. And that's when I started the Shea Butter documentary, a lot of stuff, because I've been in supply chain to figure out like how the women benefit at what point in the supply chain. So I reached out to her to see if it was okay, get their permission to film. And we brought school supplies. We paid the women for being in the documentary. And it was just amazing. Like that was a whole nother eye opener up there, how different it was, because at the time it was kind of focused on Accra. Like come to Ghana, Afrochella, Slave Castle. You was like Slave Castles and Afrochella. It's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff in between, And so that's what happened.
So rolling back the tapes here, what was this random house booking? I am intrigued. How did y'all figure that out? What was that?
So again, social media. I'm a believer that you use social media. It's a tool, right? So there's all these travel groups. There's these trip groups. I think it was Travel Africa movement, and then there's Sisters, the repatriation group. And I just posted in the group. I was like, hey, does anyone have any connections for a house? Because I believe when I travel to a country I like Airbnb, but if I can find someone who is indigenous to the country to book through them. And she was like, he's not on Airbnb, but this is a legit guy. Here's his information. Tell him, so-and-so sent you. I literally had to wire this man some money. And then mind you, it's a little different because now it's everybody's money. It's not just my money. And so I'm just like, well, I usually have good luck with stuff like this. That's how I know I'd be floating through I don't float through the world, but I'll be floating through the world. Like I'm like, well, I'll eat it. If something happens, I'll eat it, right? Because we were looking for a specific. It was 5 of us, and these are women. We travel internationally together. We like go to Canada for Black Ski Week and stuff like that, right? So
that's a thing.
Yeah, MLK Ski Weekend. Yeah. It's so much fun. 2015. I forgot about that. But yeah, we went in 2015. It's every year around MLK weekend. Some guys from Detroit put it together. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Is it always in Canada, or is it like, does it float around?
I think the most of the time that I've seen it has been in Canada. They're out of Detroit and like right there.
Makes sense.
So we fly into Detroit, take the bus, and it's a fun trip.
It's a time. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm picking up.
Yeah. We always travel together, which is important, especially going that far away.
Yeah.
And they trusted me, and we had a blast.
Well, it worked out. It worked out. Because I absolutely agree in terms of patronizing local across all industries, right? And I would just be so scared of getting scammed because I can't eat that. I wouldn't have it. I'm just like, but I feel like there's a market for that. That's all. So it's, again, I try my hardest to make sure I actually say what I mean. So Airbnb is already its own thing, and it started off being something else, and then it's grown, and it's great for what it's great for, and it's shit for what it's shit for.
Right.
However, I feel like there is probably, I'm hoping here, speaking this into the positive atmosphere here, that there's going to be another platform that comes along with similar attributes to Airbnb. I know there's a Noir B&B, but I absolutely try my best to avoid staying at those listings that you could tell this person has like 7 different apartments over across different states, and it's just like, this is just business for you.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this area that that I
Right.
can't Google. You are not from here. I am not helping a family that has lived here and has had their children here. So I feel like I would love if there were, even if I had to pay a little more, if
Right.
there were a platform that had actual homes. Like, yeah, you live in Florida, but you rent your apartment in Connecticut for a good portion of the year, and vice versa, just so that you know that you're actively helping somebody that is from here versus taking away from the housing market, or, contributing to all the issues that Airbnb opposers rightfully have gripes with. I just don't feel like it's fair to shit on all of the really great things that the platform avails to a lot of travelers, just because there are some that kind of like make it bad for others. There's got to be a middle ground, but I ain't no politician. That ain't my business, ain't my fight to fight. But I say all that to say that I absolutely agree with you in terms of wanting to support families and communities that are local and indigenous to the locations that you're visiting. And with that in mind, why shea butter? Why was it that shea butter what was it about shea butter, I guess, that you decided to expound upon and, take further?
Again, growing up in LA, it's some of everybody. It's very diverse. I've been using shea butter since I was a little bit kid. Go to Ghana, you think shea? I go to Ghana. I think coffee, cocoa, and shea butter. That's just and fabric, right? And so that's what was in a lot of the tourist areas. And that's when I'm just a curious person. Again, always a serial entrepreneur. And I've always done like, I'm not like I play vegan sometimes. Like, I'm not really, like, I'm not super like all into natural stuff, but if I can do something natural, I will. And then I saw, just the women selling it, and I was just like, okay, how can people were asking me, can you bring me some shea butter? Right. And they're like, can you bring me back some shea butter? And that's kind of how it became. And I'm like, shea butter is heavy, and we only get 50 pounds of our suitcase. So
right. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
So what was the first step in that business though? Did you necessarily just buy it in bulk while you were there, or did you just kind of partner with someone from jump? Like, what was...
I've used the same vendor because I've been using shea butter since I was little. I understand that all shea butter is not created equally, and then there's different types, there's different ingredients. And I found like the Ghanaian shea butter, it was creamy. The one that I had, it was ivory. Then that's when I realized the ones that I've been getting was from Nigeria. Little differences, right? Yeah. And so the ivory shea butter, I just loved it. And I loved Ajeke and her mission, and wanted to support her co-op. Her co-op. And that's when I started learning about social enterprise. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing. That's what I already do, And so that's why I did shea butter. I did shea butter from her, and black soap, and shea butter soap. And the products, they sold out, and people they love it. I even created the Shea Butter Cooperative here, which is a group of Black women-owned natural beauty product manufacturers who use shea butter in their products.
I did see that on your website.
And so we buy it in bulk, and so that way we can split the cost. So I'm like the Costco of shea butter, right? Because it's the plug, right? But since I'm already getting a deal, let me spread that over to them, which creates more economic opportunities for the women who make shea butter, because if they don't have orders,
buyers, right,
they don't have the money. So
it was so what are some of the differences, without going into like the biology of it, in shea butter? Because I understand there to be like raw, unrefined, and then you got like what I would call like the janky one. You know what I mean? Like it's the Palmer's cocoa butter with shea butter. It's like they done milked it down till it's not really. What is the difference between like Nigerian and Senegalese or Ghanaian, or what are we buying? Like, how do we know the difference?
It's a fruit, right? And so are the fruits spoiled? How did they pick the nuts, right? And so it's a handcrafted product. So that's number one, is the nut spoiled? Because you start off with a bad nut, your product is ruined. Then there's a yellow root that they use. If you see the yellow one, it has good properties for your skin too. But I prefer the Shea. And then the water. Where are they getting this water from? They gotta boil the nuts.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's why some people shea
Oh.
butter. Yeah, that's why some people shea butter will go bad fast or it smells funny. The roasting of it has a very nutty like a smell, right? And how long were they roasted? Were the nuts burnt? Are they bleaching it? You know, we love to bleach stuff when we come over here. It should have a gray, not grainy, but it should look natural. Like when you make a whipped shea butter and put, you know, different fragrances and stuff in it, but what are the fragrances that they put in it? Are they essential oils? So yeah, how was it like? I'll just run through this because I didn't realize this until I did the Business of Shea documentary. From them literally picking the shea nuts and then they literally throw out the bad ones. Somebody is going cutting corners and going to use the bad ones because they have to buy the shea nuts by the pound, right? And so anytime you have to pay for anything,
you paid for it.
Yeah, right. You pay for it. And then how much of the other ingredients, the root, the charcoal, the charcoal, the cocoa powder is in it. You know, is it heavy on the shea nuts? Is it heavy on the yeah, that's the difference.
Mind blown. I mean, and it's not, so it's like, you know how you know something like, oh yeah, there's steps that are required to make this, but it's like I had no fucking clue what those steps
and
were.
it smells
so
like
I'm
chocolate. When it's roasted,
mine don't.
Not when it's roasted, it smells burnt. But when it's when it's like, and it looks like Nutella, more like a Nutella. Yeah, and I was like, what is that? But there's so many processes that it goes to the next step where they're literally hand whipping it, and then they're skimming off the oil off the top. And I'm like, oh, that stuff. It was cool. Yeah, I got excited.
First of all, who is the first person that thought? I'm always like, the first person to do a lot of things is just like, what possessed you to think to boil this fruit?
This fruit.
What possessed you to think that this could be anything other than something to decorate your plate with? Humans will forever like amaze and just in a lot of good ways and a lot of bad ways, but that is,
I didn't cook with it. I didn't know you could eat it. But then it's like, oh, it's in chocolate. Didn't know that. Yeah, that's a lot of things I didn't know about shea butter. And I was just like, okay.
So this is a very educational episode is what we're saying here. We're getting the knowledges. We're getting into the know. Yeah. So what are the differences in the different cooperatives? How do those, I don't know if like pop up or like, can anybody start a cooperative or how do they occur? And then how were you able to choose? I guess because you had met the woman and you'd gotten to know her prior and then decided to just go with her. But so I guess I have an answer for that one, but like, how do people start cooperatives? How are they arranged, or what is the story of how they exist?
Okay,
at least in Ghana.
I can tell you how hers existed. So Jackie is and this is in the documentary, so I'm excited to share because it was so exciting for me. She, by trade, she is an attorney. She's Nigerian. Her husband is a Ghanaian. She was literally just using shea butter for her own personal use. And the woman that she would purchase it from, you know, it was a lot of people, a lot of women there, they know how they're trained to sew, cook, make shea butter in the North, right? And so she was making shea butter for her, just buying small, little personal size, you know, shea butter. And she called her up to buy some more, and her husband answered the phone. A lot of husbands speak for the women there. He was like, well, she doesn't have any. And she's very blunt. She's just like, well, why doesn't she have any? I probably would have hung up the phone and been like, okay, she doesn't have any. But she was like, well, why doesn't she have any? And she was like, well, she doesn't have any money to get the supplies for it. So she was like, well, how much does it cost? You know? And so he told her, she sent the money. And so she ended up sending her like way more shea butter than she could use. And she was just like, no, I just, you know, wanted the small. He was like, no, well, you go sell it. She was like, I can't sell this. You know, she was like, who am I sell to? And that's when he mentioned that, well, there's some Chinese buyers. This is not, you know, literally, there's some Chinese buyers that come in and buying containers full, like shipping containers full. And the jacket was like, what do you mean? You know, so she's not thinking the big market, you know,
Yeah.
as it is. And so she went out to the north to see that there's other cooperatives, there's other, you know, manufacturing companies there, and saw how, you know, how lucrative it was, as well as like the process. So that's when she had the aha moment to buy the land, to put the water, the electricity, the grinding machines, the roasting pots, the boiling pots on the land, right? And then just have the women in the community who are making shea butter. Everyone's doing everything individually, right? That you just have to come here and make it. All of the stuff is here. You don't have to fetch your own firewood. You don't have to fetch clean water and pay for that. Because what was happening was everyone was doing this on their own. They're having to go in town to buy the shea nuts, right? And then they have to go buy the firewood, and they have to go buy the clean water, and they, you know, all of this stuff, right? And then you have to sell it, and then you get your money, right? And everyone is doing this individually. But as Jackie came in, provided all of that on the land, they just have to come, show up, make it, and they're making 10 times more because she has the buyers, you know, the people in the diaspora, the UK, the Nigeria. That's how she started the Shea Butter Cooperative. And because what was happening, sometimes the women would do all of this, spending their money to make the shea butter, and then give it to someone. Oftentimes it's a male that'll say, oh, I'm going to go to Accra, which is 12 hours, right? They're not flying, right? And it's 12 hours because of the roads. And I'll get you your money when I sell it. And they were coming back, and of course never hear from them again, or they weren't giving them the money, or you know, so they just out of it. And so with the Shea Butter Cooperative and those other cooperatives like that, there is that eliminates that problem.
Okay, so what you had mentioned the supply chain when you initially mentioned your documentary. How does that supply chain work for the women? Like I heard you when you said, you know, they eliminate the need to source the items and the goods for themselves. They basically just come to work, right? But for the women that aren't part of a cooperative, do they sell it locally in the areas that they're in, or like where does it?
Actually, the women in the village, I can speak for the cooperative that I worked with in Sablugu, they actually don't even use it. They it's on their skin by, I guess, default, because they work with it, because it attracts like dirt, but you know, it's kind of can be sticky or whatever.
Yeah.
But what was your question?
Like, where is for the women that produced it, like on their own?
Yeah, so there's a
they sell it
market
locally?
day. You know, there's a market day, which is either Sunday or Wednesdays. And after they make it, they go to the market and sell it. And then they'll sell it to, you know, the guy will say, hey, let me get all this from you, and I'm going to come back with your money because I'm going to go sell it in a crop. Or there's people up there that'll buy it from them, because Tamale is the major city up there. The market is in Tamale. They'll go there and they'll sell it to tourists, or they'll sell it to people that they cook with it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much do these women get paid? Like, is it
it's $10 for like stuff that we would sell for close to $400 worth of stuff. Yeah. And so that's wild. It's wild because, again, my background was in supply chain, and so as a recruiter, I hired everyone down from the, you know, the top CEO to the mail clerk, right? So how does this stuff, what do we need to make this stuff work? And so, and I found the benefits of finished products and packaging, because what they were selling for $2, if it's packaged, if it's branded, you can sell for $20, right? And so that's what a Jeke comes in and does, and that's why they're able to make so much more. And that's how Ankara Beauty became a brand, because they're like, okay, you know, I'm buying it in bulk, but I don't make any special butter. I just literally repackage it. And so trying to impress upon the cooperatives and the women there who are doing shea butter on their own, that there is the benefit is in the finished product, is in the packaging, it's in the branding. Yeah.
This way they can sell it for a lot more and actually just make more. It's like, y'all doing all of this work. make the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when people travel
Mm-hmm.
to different destinations, right? And they want to give back. One guest I had, I don't even remember which one it was, but someone had made a really good point, and they were saying, don't make the assumption of what someone needs. And just like a lot of people will just say, oh, yeah, I'm going to donate,
Right.
money to this, or I'm going to donate clothes. Like a lot of people will
Right.
go like straight to clothes, and they'll just bring extra clothes and be like, here, I would like to donate the clothes. Yes, great. Thanks. But we're good on the
Right.
clothes, but that roof needs to be
Right.
fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Or, we're plumb out of books. The books
Right.
we've had are like 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How do you suggest tourists go about, one, respectfully asking people how they can be of service to them, but then two, like, how do you navigate? I mean, you can't. I don't want to ask how you navigate not getting scammed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
it's
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because this literally is what I'm doing with the Ankara Beauty Social Impact Fund. That why I reached out to you, because of my background in marketing. My goal is to work with the nonprofits and the solo entrepreneurs and that's just the people on the ground who oftentimes have 3 volunteers who are out there doing the work. And because I built this relationship with the JK over 4 years, I'm giving back to the same kids, right? So they know in December, Auntie is coming and she's bringing Kofi, her friend, and we lay it out as they're shopping. We don't have them like all, and I'm very big on dignity and giving, and me being grateful for the opportunity and being the vessel, right? But how do you not get scammed? You work with reputable people. How do you find the reputable people? We're in sororities, we're reach out to your nonprofits, reach out to, and I not to say anything wrong with the big ones, but they've got the deep donor pockets. They've got the people who, on the what is that? The payroll deductions every month, right? Those people, everyone needs, right? But
Yeah.
I prefer to work with people that, and for me it's easy. I'll say easy because again, the network it's a built-in network between HBCUs and the D9, right? And so
Yeah.
what year was it? 2021. The Deltas in Ghana, I participated with them. We planted trees in the forest there, right? And so that's a legitimate organization you could work with. One of the frat brothers there that I'm actually helping raise money for currently right now to drill a borehole. We raised money to drill a borehole. I was there for the turning on the tap, right? He's legitimate. He has his organization there. And so he's, again, reaching out to his network. So, and he's part of my network there. I'm part of my network here. I'm reaching out to the same people who donated the shoes. And Ajeke, every year, by me showing, she has this window that has donated by Ankara Beauty. She's sending me pictures. I'm not requiring this of her, but she understands the value in showing, and then people are inspired and they're wanting to give. That's why I'm like, you know what, I need to give this. We're raising this money. We're going to give her this check so she can finish, and it's not going to be bare bones. I wouldn't want my nieces and nephews, if I had kids, to have bare bones stuff, right? And I've seen the progress for the last 3 years. I'm going up there to see it, project manager. So in addition to raising the money for these organizations that are on the ground doing the work, I'm offering marketing help, marketing expertise, because that's my background. Again, we work in nonprofits. I'm in my alumni association here. It's all volunteer, right? And so they don't have the skilled expertise for the social media, or so it's like, how do I not get scammed? You got to do your research. And that's what Ankara Beauty Social Impact Fund is. If you guys want to work with other organizations there, I can only speak for Ghana because that's where I do all of my work right now. Reach out to me. And I'm like, this network is super small there. It'll get around if something is not legit, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But you just have to do your due diligence, right? Because sometimes we get so excited and want to give back, and it's like, well, I got scammed now. Everybody's a scammer. Well, you know. And
Right.
I've worked with people who I've literally met via social media, who sends me stuff. He sends me stuff all the time. I don't, I send it via SendWave, and he's just like, you sent me too much. It doesn't cost that much. I'm like, no, that's for your trial. So there, I can only speak for Ghana and the experiences that I have. I have come across some amazing people. Not only just, because it's easy for us to walk in and link up, right? But literally working with the local people who are my friends, who I bring to the D9 stuff. So they can see, I'm learning from them, they're learning from me. Yeah.
So, would you suggest that travelers look into this before they travel, or is this something that you can kind of tap into like once you get there? I mean, because I know I'm an energy person, so I enjoy being able to like read the room. But at the same time, I kind of feel like, well, at that point, you might have missed an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like if I were to wait until I get there to say, how can I help? And then also, well, I'll get back to that one. So if I were to wait until I got there to say, well, how can I help? At that point, it's either just going to be money or physical labor. Right. I can't necessarily tap into resources that I may have on hand at my disposal back home. Right. But like, what would you suggest in terms of travelers who want to be, not, so I don't know if it's socially conscious. I guess it would be socially conscious, but would like to contribute socially.
Yeah, just be aware and conscious, and I would definitely do it ahead of time, depending on how far you're going and what you're willing to risk, right? Because it is an expensive trip to go that far. You have a certain amount of days. You need to plan that out. If you're working with a tour guide, a reputable tour guide, those are great resources to use. A lot of them have, work with organizations. If it's an orphanage or a school or whatever is close to your heart. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're, a chef, even if it's taking a class or going to the local community there, those are all ways that you are impacting the community locally, right? Because we've already spent all this money on travel getting there and it's not going there, right? And if you stay in a major chain, oftentimes the owner is a foreigner, right? So they're not local to there, and you have to be safe, when you're going. So you want something that's familiar, right? But you absolutely can. There's major organizations, again, there's, major or nonprofits that you can work with, but there's a lot. You can go on the tourism website for the place that you're going and see what they have. Yeah, they'll have things to do here, especially if it's in a developing country.
Because that was going to be my next question. Like, if you had any suggestions for how people can evaluate a source, like if you are using social media, or if you decide to just Google how to give back while visiting Tanzania, whatever. Right. If it's new to you, or if you're not familiar with the way nonprofits work, or just larger organizations in general, what are some things to kind of look out for or to kind of like avoid? I think the tourism website, I didn't even consider that. I think I didn't consider it because something about official websites, they always look so damn janky. I don't care what country it is, but every last one of them looks like I put the website together. You know what I mean? And I feel like even my WordPress site look a little better than U.S. Department of State's website. It's just, I got a lot more information, but my shit's prettier. You know what I mean? So it's just, how would you suggest, outside of making sure that you're actually going to a legitimate website or a, what's the right word? Not legitimate, but like a
reputable.
Thank you. Thank you. A reputable website, because I mean, anybody could buy GoDaddy landing page and do something. But if you don't know what you're looking for or what to avoid, I could see easily falling into it. So are there any things that come to mind that you would suggest that people look out for or look for in particular?
The colleges, our local colleges are really good sources. And I'm going to say, if there's a Spanish teacher, if there's a French teacher, if there's a tree teacher, whatever that person is, right? Cultural immersion programs that are on the college campuses, those are vetted because they're not sending those kids. You know, the study abroad, you don't have to be in the study abroad or a student there to reach out to the dean or whoever there and ask who do they work with. Or can I sponsor a student? Because that student is going to physically go there and do the work, right? If you once you're down there, just shop locally and, you know, try to find out in general what something should cost, right? And then you can negotiate but still support the local person, because the more I've gone back to Ghana, the more development I've seen that has not been by us. And so it's like, I'm going to, you know, go over here to the what is this, the McCullough Market, right? Those are direct impact things that you can do. Buy from the sellers on the streets, right? Don't try to negotiate them all the way down because it is $1. You don't want to get ripped off, but those are ways that are going directly into their pockets. And again, on a lot of those websites, you can follow their social media. If there's some activity, just use your intuition. Or again, this is really and I think it's important, depending on where you're going, for me, for the recipients of our gifts to look like us. They need to know that the help doesn't always come from the outside, right? And that's why it was important for me to keep going back every year to the same children, right? And so you build those relationships. I'm speaking again for Ghana. They don't care nothing about an email, you know. But that's us. Our generation is kind of bringing that in, but they want to see face to face, just like you. They don't want to get scammed either, because a lot of people come out there. They don't want to get scammed either. So, in hot spot places, I think it might be a little bit easier. But there's organizations like, you know, Peace Corps or Habitat for Humanity, or, you know, they all just look to see who comments on their stuff. Like, oh, thanks so much, we appreciate it, whatever. Yeah. Do, you know, reverse and see what they're about.
That was a really good one. And another point I wanted to make sure that I reiterate that you made was, don't haggle these people all the way down.
Yeah.
There's a distinct difference between getting disrespected and then like just taking that L. You are going to pay the tourist tax. Yeah. It is what it is. Like, let that go. Yeah. Especially if you are coming from a location or an area where your currency just weighs much more. Like, if it's worth so much more. I'm not saying or advocating for being disrespected. Like, if you know some shit is supposed to be like $100, no, don't pay $500 for it. But when you're negotiating between $5 of your own money and like $7 of your own money, get them people the extra $2. Like, that extra $2 is really not going to break. If you know whatever that difference is, isn't going to break you, take the L.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not going to pay the same as a local.
Right.
You shouldn't pay the same as a local. You don't if you're doing hair, if I'm like, by no means am I a great braider, so don't call me. But if I'm braiding somebody's hair and I know them, like, I'm not going to charge my cousin to braid her baby's hair. But if my cousin tells her co-worker's homegirl, yo, my cousin will braid, like, she could braid hair, like, yeah, you could give me a little $20 for sitting for 3 hours with your kid. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference. Like, please respect these people and don't sit here and argue people down on something, because they know that this is a dumb argument to be having. And a lot of times, you know, but don't want to admit that it's a dumb argument to be having. So pick your battles, people, please.
Agree.
Pick your battles. Be tasteful. And I really like that idea of doing like that reverse engineering. You can look through who's commenting, who are they helping, what organizations are they giving their monies to, so that you can say, oh, okay, well, this isn't exactly like the person that's in need, but it's another organization that is facilitating through help from Habitat through Humanity, or whatever group that you're looking at. But in terms of the documentary, how's progress on that going? What is that going to look like? When can we expect to see that?
Oh my God. It's been supposed to be out, but I want to do one more day, which is the market day. And I don't feel like it'll be complete without it, right? Because that's the whole, the end supply chain. I need to be able to get up there to do it. And it always just falls in a weird time that I'm like in Tamale, because it's literally on a Sunday or on a Wednesday, right? Okay. So maybe within the next year, definitely, it has to be done, because again, we use shea butter. We hear about it all the time, but we don't know where it comes from, right? Or even it's not just the documentary is not about just how it's made. It's about the stories and how the women and the Shea Butter Cooperative impacts these women's lives, how they have more respect in the home now, and there's less domestic violence because a lot of the arguments were about money, right? And so now that they're contributing to the home, they can have a little bit more respect. They're loaning their husbands money. They're paying their kids tuition. You know, they don't have to have the nonprofit come in to give them malaria pills. They got money to go buy their own malaria pills. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is, they can pay for their own things. And the same thing with the well. Like, we're not bringing in bottles of water every year, so you're relying on this water. We're drilling the hole, right? Stuff like that.
So I know that you do the Shea Butter. Do you produce any other products? Do you have anything else that you offer? You mentioned soap.
Yeah, so there's a Shea Butter soap. I'm really excited because I work with a cooperative in Morocco that it sources argan oil, clay, and rose water. So if you were to get the Ankara Beauty box, it always has the Shea Butter in it. So the Ankara Beauty box is when I travel to other African countries, there's always going to be the staples of the Shea Butter. And so what I do is on my trips to Kenya, Egypt, Rwanda, Togo, the Togo box sold out twice because these purses were in it. They're beautiful purses. So let me tell you what happens. So when I'm over there, I'm like posting on my social media site and I'll have like a purse and I'm like, oh my God, I want that purse. I can't bring stuff back for everyone, but I'll find out the local guy in the whatever that people see that I have that they want. I buy it in bulk or I get it shipped and I put it in an Ankara Beauty box. We're creating economic opportunities for the people who are selling it. I have a seamstress who makes our spa head wraps and our cosmetic bags. We're literally on FaceTime picking out fabric. We're buying all of the stuff in bulk. The same thing with the Shea Butter. I put in the order. So this is my little way of giving back. Not even because it's mutually beneficial, because it is a social enterprise. So what happens is the Ankara Beauty box, when I go, I'll literally say, you guys can pre-order it. It'll probably sell out because people want the box. And this last one, I had some oils from Egypt in there. I was in Cairo. So it's a bunch, it's like a trinket box of a lot of different African countries that it's really cute stuff. It's not cute. It's not stuff that you'll probably see all the time. And once it's gone, it's gone. But I work with women in cooperatives, solo women entrepreneurs, and vendors in the local market. I had these brass bracelets that were made from the old Ghanaian coins. So often the only things that are the same thing is the rose water, the oils, and the Shea Butter. Everything else, each box is going to be different the next time. Like, hey guys, I just came back from, Ghana or wherever. I have this stuff. And it's a surprise. They just trust me. And the stuff is dope. I've had literally people who have purchased all 6 boxes because I just started doing it. So every time I go, I've been going to Ghana every year. And then I'll stop over in different countries. But then it's a dope box. I will buy because it's something that I will buy. And there's different colored shirt in each box. And we're literally every time I go, I'm giving women the money. And so it's like a bonus. We get our annual bonus. It's just different languages around, donation, bonus, gift. It's all money going to the people. Right. So.
So how do we, where can we find you? How do we find out when? Cause
right.
Put me on the list. I want one of them. You had me at the rose water because I was saying to somebody last week's guest, hey Aspen, we were talking about skincare. And I was saying that I just got to that age where like I really have to pay attention to my face now. Like I just started having to wash my face every night. Maybe you'll know. So little tangent here, sidebar. Does Shea Butter clog your skin? Because I've been trying to use it I use it on my face generally at night just because I don't feel like it's as heavy. And if I'm sweating during the day or if I'm moving around, I don't want the outside sticking to my face anyway.
Right.
But does it clog your skin?
It does not. And if you want like a light oil, argan oil is a really good one. I love it.
Okay.
Again, though, here these things, everything's not created equally. So you might have a bad experience with a black soap, and I'll just use if you see a black soap that like is super drying, it's because it doesn't have a lot of shea butter in it. I didn't realize there was shea butter in black soap.
Nor I.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So where do we get on the list for an Ankara box? How do we purchase shea butter from you? Because I am intrigued.
Yeah.
I want to know because I get mine on Amazon.
Yeah. It's coming from the same place though.
But I don't know if I have Nigerian shea butter, if I have Ghanaian shea butter. I don't know if they use them spoiled nuts in my shea butter. Like, I would like to know that someone paid attention to what is going into my product. Yeah. And I trust you now. So how do we find you? How do we order an Ankara Beauty box? How do we contribute to your social missions? And where can we find more information about you? And let's not forget, what was it? Case Kettle Corn?
Case Kettle Corn, which is the best kettle corn. I'm just saying what the people say.
Let's get into it. How do we find you and all the gifts that you're bringing to the world?
Kettle Corn, casekettlecorn.com. That's KAYS, kettlecorn.com. Ankara Beauty, on Ankar beauty.com. And then you can go through the tabs, and I'm really gung-ho and like really pushing the Ankara Beauty Social Impact Fund, which I just launched last month. I'm trying to raise $20,000 by September to finish the school that will be equipped with computers that are all uniform. And the reason I want uniform computers is because I don't want there to be a learning curve for the teachers trying to figure out 8 different.
Ooh, that is such a good point.
Yeah, because people are like, oh, you can get them donated. And I'm like, have you ever tried to teach little kids on 8 different like all somebody giving a MacBook, somebody, and that's not to be ungrateful, but I think that if there's someone who has 200 or not 250, uniform laptops, I would absolutely love to give, because that would, give us more of a budget to give to something else. And we're doing another borehole, because I saw the direct impact that it made. The young ladies and the kids and the women don't have to wake up at 4:00 in the morning to go get water for the day for their house. They can wake up and then they'll have to miss school. They can wake up and walk maybe, a mile versus 6 to go get water, and then turn around and go to school. So if you can help with that, if you look on AnkaraBeauty.com and the Social Impact Fund, there's information on how to Zelle, or there's a GoFundMe there. Or if you know of any organizations who do contribute to social enterprises or their grants, our deadline is for the borehole is July. And so even if I have to get another job, I'm going to do it, because I've committed, right? I've committed to these, and they're 2 separate projects. I've committed to the village, and the chiefs are ready to have, and if anyone wants to go, I'm going in August to September. I stay about a month or 2, but you don't have to.
Oh, beautiful.
But yeah, AnkaraBeauty.com. It has all the information. Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I had such a great time talking with you. And I absolutely want to encourage everybody to please stop by the website, AnkaraBeauty.com, kettlecorn.com also, but especially AnkaraBeauty.com, and see what you can do. Yeah. Like I said, we ain't going we're not going to haggle these people when we go there and buy things, because respectability, you know what I mean? Like, respect people and their work. They are standing outside, sitting outside in the sun that you are just passing through, and they are selling and providing goods and services. We can absolutely make a difference. And I feel like if everybody would just, what was in Coming to America, we appreciate, what is it? We appreciate the money that makes noise, but we more appreciate the one that votes. If you know the quote that I'm talking about, when Sexual Chocolate and when you know what I'm talking about. But the point is, travel is so much more than vacation, and actively being good people is such a blessing and a gift to give the world. And you can even do that without having to travel. Yeah, you can do that from your homes. So we've got the opportunity here. So absolutely tap in. Khadijah, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate having you here with me and speaking with us. And I hope that the Travel and Shit listeners can be of service to you and your mission.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all. Fucks with you next week. Bye, y'all. Bye.